Hi friends, it's Terry Gaines. In this video, I'm going to show you how to turn paper bags into beautiful gift bags. I have 3 different gift bags to share with you. The first 2 are created with paper lunch bags. The first one is a gift bag that is kind of flat, but it is perfect to put a set of homemade cards in, or hot cocoa and a candy cane. And then there is a clip that's created with a paper clip, a closure, and then you've got a pocket that's perfect for a greeting card. So this is the first project I'm going to show you. Then I have another one that I created that has a pleated bottom on it and also with a paper clip closure. And this one is going to be perfect to put different candies in or homemade cookies. You have a pleated bottom and you have the closure on the top with a paper clip, so it's gonna sit nicely and be displayed. A little pocket for a gift tag or for a card or even a gift card. And then the third one is with a paper grocery bag. This one is actually super fun to create too, and I've turned that into a pleated. It has an inside piece for a gift or inside section, and then you've got another pocket on the side. So that's a fun one to create as well. We're going to start with the first one I showed you, and I'm going to use a craft lunch bag. The designer series paper I'm going to use is from Stampin' Up. It's called A Walk in the Forest, and most of the product I use is from Stampin' Up. On the bottom of my video and the bottom of my blog post, there will be a direct link to Stampin' Up online store if you're interested in any of the Stampin' Up product. This designer series paper, there's 6 different prints. They are double-sided with a background on the other side, and they are all 12 by 12 in size. I am going to embellish the projects with elements from this piece. I cut out the trees with the merriest tree dies. There's different dies that will cut out the different trees here. And you can fussy cut around the bear unless you own the Bear Punch, which is a retired product right now. I also use the designer series paper for embellishing the lunch bag. So for the first style lunch bag, we're going to take our lunch bag. This is the bottom of it. We're going to fold this up and create the pocket right here. So you're going to take your bone folder and just crease that. Now what we want to do is have a strong adhesive on the ends that will close and create the pocket right here. I'm going to use Terran tape. It's got its name because you can place it down across and then tear it, or you can take your paper snips or your scissors and cut that. So we're going to create the pocket, put strong adhesive here, and going to peel that backing off and create the pocket. So now we're just going to close this, and this is going to create the pocket. I'm going to put the designer series paper on here. Now I'm not going to share the well, let me rephrase that. I am going to share the measurements that I'm using, but your lunch bag might be a different size. So I'm going to show you how I determine that. I have a ruler here that starts at 0 here and gives me the measurements this way and 0 here and this way. So what I do, I love this ruler, and I put it down, and this width is 5 1/8. So I'm going to make my length 5 inches. It's a little more than 3 inches on this side, so I'm going to make this 5 by 3 and adhere this to this end. So you just put your favorite adhesive on here. Now I'm going to show you a sample, or let me just rephrase that. The first sample I showed you doesn't have any designer series paper down in that area, but that's the beauty of creating. You can add paper down here or not paper down here. In this one, we are going to add the paper. Now I'm going to show you how I did the top. I have a piece of cardstock already cut. So what you have to do is take your ruler and measure this. Now I said this was over 5 inches in width. It's a little over 5 1/8. So you want to cut your cardstock that long. I've cut it 2 inches in this length and scored it in the middle. I'm going to attach this back piece just to the back part of the lunch bag. Now I want to share with you, you have to be careful. You don't want to put your adhesive too close to that fold line because with this rugged edge, it might be exposed. So what I do is I use strong tape again. I put one down on the bottom and then one a little more than halfway across. This is strong. You don't have to go way up to the edge, like way up to that fold line. Now I'm going to take your pick tool, get the backing off. And now what we want to do is we want to get this attached like this. Now I find it hard to get this all aligned, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this upside down, and I'm going to turn this upside down and place the front of the lunch bag on the non-adhesive side of the closure, line this up, and then close the adhesive down on that. That helped me get that on better. Now what we want to do is make the closure. I shared that it's a paper clip. So what we have for the paper clip, and I forgot to grab the ribbon. So we're just going to do a pretend that I have ribbon here, and we can add it later. And so let me rephrase that, because the reason I say add ribbon is the end of the paper clip is going to show. We can add that ribbon later. But to start out, for this paper clip, both of my front image and my back image are the same size. So what I'm going to do is take my back image with the right side of it out. I'm going to put the paper clip on it. I'm going to leave a little space here because I'm going to add a bow later. So my paper clip's on the back, the longer end, shorter end on the inside. I'm going to take my strong adhesive, go across that paper clip, and I'm going to put 3 strips of this on here. And I didn't get that one on very straight, so I'm going to take the backing off, and I'm going to put it on one more time across the bottom. Now my videos are unedited, and sometimes I have bloopers, sometimes I misspeak, and sometimes I don't catch myself. But hopefully with the visual, you are able to understand everything I'm trying to show you so you can duplicate the project. So in this case, our images are the same size, and I have adhesive going across the paper clip to help secure the paper clip. I'm going to bring these 2 images together, and that's going to create this closure that is like a paper clip. Now we can add a bow here later, but what that's going to do is allow us to have a closure for our bag. I have created a card out of designer series paper. I'm going to put that in here. And now I'm going to show you how I add the tree. Now I'm going to take that out just for visual purposes. We want to have part of this image hanging over the top of the pocket, and we want it adhered only to this image. So what I'm going to do is bring my dimensionals in, and I'm going to put 2 dimensionals right in the center that are just on that pocket. And then I'm going to add 3 dimensionals on the bottom of the tree. And this is going to be my way of making sure I have no exposed adhesive beyond the height of the pocket, because now what I can do is turn this and kind of decide how high I want that tree to be, and I don't have any exposed adhesive. And then you can slip in your card, homemade, or if you have another homemade card, you can slip in there. And then, as I mentioned, it is going to be perfect to put some homemade cards in, and you can add a ribbon of your choice to the top of this. Now the next one I'm going to show you doesn't have the top there. You don't add ribbon. So the next one I'm going to show you using the white lunch bags. So let's get a white lunch bag. I am going to fold this the same way that I did to begin with, and just make this crease. Now we want to make this pleat, and what we want to do is bring in a scoring tool. So I'm going to bring in the Simply Scoring tool and also show you the items I'm going to embellish this project with. So I'm going to be using a designer series paper called Berry Christmas. You get 6 different double-sided prints, and there's just some pretty scenes here. 2 of these prints have lots of images you can cut out. On the back side, you've got some great background pieces. I am going to be embellishing my projects with these two prints. So ahead of time, I have cut out a lot of these different elements on these two pages. And for me, I don't like to cut out, but I keep a blue border around here. And now what I'm going to do is all of my images are going to be adhered to the coordinating color. So it's going to camouflage any of my imperfections of my cutting. So that way I can just cut these out. And what you can do is just cut out everything you want out of those pages and you're ready to go. So now back to the project, we want to create a pleat in here so we have a base and we can get bigger items in the gift bag. So what I'm going to do is I folded that to create that. I'm going to open this up, use my Simply Scoring tool, and put this in the corner of the item and put this up against the wall. Now I am going to score every 3/4 of an inch. And even though this is a little bit off here, I am going to score this one at 4 inches. It's about 3 1/8. So I'm really scoring this one at 7/8, but that's okay. I'm going to score that at 7/8, and then I'm going to score this one at 3/4. I'm going to turn this over and then score the other side. So what I'm doing here is creating a pleat. So I've got my fold this way, then I'm going to fold this down like here, create a little accordion fold right in here. Okay, so it's not even here, but that's okay. It's going to work perfect for the bag. So we have that. So we've got our little W here. And now what we want to do is we're going to move this. We're going to adhere this pocket. So it's going to be a little bit different. And I have white tear and tape and a white lunch bag. So I'm just going to show you that I'm going to put my adhesive right here. And then I'm going to put my adhesive. I'm not putting any adhesive on this next panel, but I'm going to put adhesive on the panel right here. And so hopefully that shows up. We'll talk a little bit more about that as I go to do this. I'm going to put adhesive on this. This is going to create the pocket. And then I'm going to no adhesive on this panel, and then I'm going to put one strip on this panel. And what that's going to do is help create that pleat and the base to the new bag. So now what we'll do is take our adhesive backing off and we'll close that down like that. And then we'll take this backing off and we'll close this down like this. Now what we have is our pocket on the inside or on the outside of the bag. We're going to open this up, and now what we want to do is, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to have you not do that yet. What we're going to do is put this panel on. So I did the same thing. I measured it. This lunch bag is the same size. And I can see that I didn't quite get that aligned very well, but that's okay. We'll make up for it on how we embellish the project. So what I'm going to do is take this and put this on. So sometimes when you're creating your projects, they go all really smooth until you go to create one with a video, and then you have some oopses. But I already told you I have bloopers in my videos, and that's okay. So now what I'm going to do is put the top on. That's going to be put on the very same way. I did a couple things different to this cardstock. This is balmy blue cardstock. It's going to help camouflage all the imperfections in the trimming of the elements, decorative elements, but I texturized it with an embossing folder. This is the Snowflake Sky 3D embossing folder, and it adds a beautiful texture to that. So I did that for this top flap too. I cut it, scored it, and then texturized it. So now what we want to do is adhere the top. Now the height of our bag, our gift bag, has shortened because we've used some of it for the bottom here, and that's okay. Now what I'm going to do the same thing. I want to adhere this. I'm going to turn this upside down and rotate this and place this on the non-adhesive side of that topper. Get that lined up and then close that to get that to adhere. Now, lots of different things to do here. So let's create our closure first. I have, in this case, we're going to create a closure that doesn't show the paper clip on the outside. So what I have is a piece of balmy blue cardstock. I'm going to cut out 2 images with the dual oval punch. I have an oval and then I have another circle. Then I'm going to take my sentiment. I've pre-stamped that. I like cutting it into strips, stamping it, and then punching. I get a better alignment if I do it that way. Now what I'm going to do is put the paper clip on the smaller of the cardstock paper clips. It's okay that it hangs out the bottom. That's going to be on the back of your gift bag. Nobody's going to see that. You're going to put the paper clip on. You're going to take your strong adhesive and go across to adhere the paper clip to the cardstock, plus it's going to adhere the scalped oval to this. So by putting the paper clip on the smaller image and then putting that adhesive to a larger image, you hide the top of the paper clip. So you can see now we have that paper clip hidden. And now I'm going to take my dimensionals, put on the back of this. You don't have to use dimensionals. This is just a personal decision whether you use dimensionals or regular adhesive. I'm going to use dimensionals and put this on the outside. You could print the person's name you're giving it to and punch it out, print it in on cardstock. And now we have the topper like that. In the pocket, I have 2 tags. These tags are from the Marius tree dies that I use to cut the trees out. I have one that you can sign the inside, and then I have another one on the outside. And I'm going to take some of this gold and gold sheer ribbon, and I'm going to cut a piece of this, make a little loop, take the loop, go from the outside, or the outside of it, or from the front to the back, that's what I wanted to say. Make a loop, and then you can trim that. That's going to be inside the pocket. And I'll give you a little tip. One of the reasons I have it covered, you have to be careful on how, if you have writing here, if you want to hide it in there, it's harder to hide it if your pocket is smaller. You can cover it and have a decorative hiding. Now I'm going to give you a tip on how to attach these. I showed you attaching the tree with dimensionals, and that was easier because the images were bigger. Now with some of these images, you get these little detailed areas here with the smaller images, harder to put adhesive on. What you can do is use the liquid glue, use a silicone or craft mat. I put some glue right on the mat, and then I dedicate one of my sponge daubers to glue. It does dry in between uses, but it still works for this technique. What I'm going to do is then just dab this glue onto my papers. And I'm going to do both at the same time here before I attach them. And then if you had small details that you were trying to get adhered, this is going to work for you. If you don't have a sponge dauber, a section of a sponge will work too. And then you can take this off, and I'm going to put this bear here. And it's easier to do all of this before we create that pleat on the bottom. Get all of your decorative images on, get your topper on, get your images in your pocket. And now, as I mentioned, all my imperfections for my cutting out are camouflaged because the color is the same. Now, when this dries, that excess glue will peel right off and you can clean that up. So now to create that pleat on the bottom, we're going to open this up and we're just going to take that outside layer and pull that outside layer down. I'm going to open this up too here. We're going to just take that outside layer and pull that down. That's going to create the base. We're going to put our hand in here and just help shape this to create a base. And you're basically putting your hand in, and this piece right here, you're just going to make sure that it goes all the way flat here, and that's going to help reform your sides to create you a base that you can put cookies in, candy in, stockings, you know, all kinds of different gifts, and then you have your closure. Now I do have a few more samples that I have with this version. This is using the craft, and it doesn't have to be Christmas. This product can be used for birthdays. Now I have several of these showing you all those different images that are cut out from that designer series paper. And you can have your family members help you do this. And this is that first one that I showed you with candy in. So those are so fun to create. Now let's get to the lunch bag. That's going to be the fun one to create. I'm sorry, not the lunch bag, the grocery bag. So we're going to start out with our grocery bag, and we need to determine the measurements for all of our items. So what I have here is, this is folded right like so. You know, you just fold this end up like this. Take your bone folder and crease that. I'm going to bring the Simply Scoring tool in to help with some measurements. Now, this is folded. I'm going to put this corner in here, and then I'm going to kind of make sure my lunch bag, or I keep calling it a lunch bag. Those are where those bloopers come into play. I'm going to do this. The reason I'm doing this is I want to see how much space I have from here to here, because that's how my space to create my pleat. So it looks like I have 1, 2 3/4 of an inch. So I want to have this line scored, oops, is scored right here. That's going to be scored. And then, so I'm gonna open, oh, I'm sorry, I'm doing that wrong. Please forget that part. That just tells us we have 2 3/4 inch. Now I want to open this up. That's why it wasn't working right. This is going to be scored, and so that's right at 7. So if we have 2 3/4, that means half of it is 1 3/8. I'm going to score that. And then we have 2 3/4 means we go to 1, 2 3/4 goes to 9 3/4. So 9 3/4 and 8 3/8. So I'm going to score again on this side, and then I'm going to score on this side. So now what we want to do is create our pleat. So we're going to fold this, and then on those score lines, it's going to be harder to do that because you have all these layers, but it is possible. You're going to make your mountain fold and then the valley fold, or depending on if you look on the outside, it's mountain and valley. So what we're doing is we're creating this fashion right like this, okay? So we're going to move that out of the way. Now we're going to bring the ruler back in. So we really have just created this little gift bag like this. Now we're going to bring that ruler in again, and you're going to measure this to see your size. So I've done this ahead of time, and let's get back to that 1 inch by 1 inch. And it's, so we have, I'm going to cut mine at 11 3/4, and then I'm going to go down this way, and I'm going to cut it at 6 3/4. So I have some of the designer series paper that is in our A Walk in the Forest packet, and it goes really well with the craft color. And I've cut 2 of those the same size. One is for the front and one is for the back. But before I put that on, we're going to put our adhesive on. So we're going to do pretty much the same thing. We're going to take our tear and tape, and we're going to put adhesive on this edge and on this edge. I might be off the video. I'm going to skip this panel, And the reason I skipped that panel, if we put adhesive on that, we shorten our pocket depth. And we're going to put adhesive across this section right here. So now you can take your pick tool, take the backing off, and then take this backing off. We're going to fold this down. I'm going to take this backing off, and then I'm going to fold this over. Okay, so I'm not going to open up the pleat until we get it decorated. So I've cut the Designer Series paper to size already. I take my adhesive and apply that to my project. And whoops, I just dropped something there. Let's see, I want this side to be up. There we go. And then we're going to put the other piece of adhesive, or I'm sorry, the other Designer Series paper. Put your adhesive on the back of this. Now this is a fun way to spruce up a paper bag for gift giving, and a great way to use your surplus of Designer Series paper. So I got that in. Now what we want to do is we've got this first pocket that's for thinner items, and then we're going to go in here and again take that outside layer, just that outside layer, to create the bottom of the gift bag, and then put your hand in here and along the side with the pocket, push that up against that wall and help create your inside of your bag. There you go. And then what you can do is you can take some tissue paper and put your gift in this one. And so you can take that, and then I'm going to just take some ribbon and tie this together. And as I mentioned, you have two different pockets. You have a pocket for some thinner items, and then you've got all that space in the inside for all kinds of goodies. You can trim that. And then for the gift bag or the gift tag, I use some of those embellishments, have some baker's twine on here. You can just put that around one of the handles and tie a, I think we call it slip knot, I'm not sure on that. Tie that, and then you can trim these excess pieces, and you have a spruced up grocery bag to make a beautiful lunch bag. And this can be a beautiful, I keep calling it a lunch bag, a gift bag. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you have any questions, please reach out to me. If you're interested in any Stampin' Up! Product, you have a direct link to my online store, or please contact me with any questions. Take care and happy creating!